Juventus live, the champions looking to get the show on the road at home again. We've almost forgotten the last time that they lost. April 2013 in the Champions League it was against Bayern Munich. And one wonders whether they might have one eye, Gabriele, on taking the next step forward now. Allegri and co. In well, Champions League terms.
I mean, certainly last year was very disappointing. They probably deserved to get more than they got out of the Champions League. Some people suggest it's part of the reason why Antonio Conte left. Certainly losing him in the middle of the summer didn't help. But, you know, in Allegri, they've got a guy that they believe in. And, you know, I think they showed their commitment. They re-signed Vidal. They're on the verge of re-signing Pogba. They extended Pirlo as well. You know, now I think it's up to the players. Some of these guys need to step up, especially some of these younger players. Not just Pogba, but guys like Osborna, who's getting some meaningful minutes now. And up front, they still want to see the best from Tevez and Llorente, and when he comes back, Morata as well.
Roma winners in the first game of the weekend in Serie A. Are they to be his likely chasers? All smiles so far in the reign of Allegri, but it is early days. To our commentary team tonight, Richard Hughes, and first, good evening to Derek Ray. Derek.
Thank you very much, Paul. Good evening to you. Hello, everyone. Andrea Stramaccioni is the man at the helm of Udinese. Nowadays, you might remember him from his stint with Inter. But Juve, the big favourites to prevail. An occasion of grandeur at this compact arena. The Italian champions about to perform in front of their own. And ready, they hope, to record what would be a 20th successive home win in Serie A. It's the start of a very hectic spell for the old lady before the next international break. 7 games in 22 days, beginning with this match against the other Bianconeri. The referee is Antonio Damato from Barletta in the Puglia region. Carlos Tevez has made it. There was a slight injury scare just a few days ago, but no problems whatsoever. There's a bit of a patched-up Juventus team. Other key players out injured and suspended. Away they go. The season has just begun, but it's 2 massive home dates in the next 3 days for Juventus. Udinese tonight, and then the Swedish league winners from last season, Malmö, travel to Turin on Tuesday for a matchday 1 meeting in the UEFA Champions League. Udinese made the journey of nearly 300 miles from the northeast to the northwest. Recent history is not on their side. Juventus have prevailed in the past 5 Serie A meetings of the 2. Clean sheets for Juve in their last 3 against the Friuli team. And it's certainly not lost on Udinese, Richard Hughes, the scale of the task facing them tonight.
No, definitely not. And Udinese are the sort of team who can cause teams like Juventus and the teams at the top of Serie A problems. Obviously, it hasn't been Juve. I'm telling us that record, Derek. Lost the last 5 games, but a different Juve team this year. Maybe not in personnel, not enormous changes anyway, but that drastic change in management in the summer that surprised me, surprised many. And how is Max Allegri's reign at the Juventus Stadium going to start tonight?
The boot was raised by Guilherme, the 23-year-old Brazilian, operating in midfield for Udinese. So they normally wear black and white stripes like Juventus. Udinese have had to change, and it's Tevez at the controls. Marquisio just a few yards away from him. Martin Cáceres whips it over. Oh, the flick initially by Fernando Llorente. Scored in both victories for Juventus against Udinese last season.
A really bright start from Juve, and Cáceres, the centre-half, finding himself in a crossing position because it's a second phase from a set piece. Clever little backheel from Llorente, almost saved Tevez. Good start from Juve. But Udinese need to keep a clean sheet, need to grow into it. Definitely not make mistakes here with the back.
Udinese have yet to beat Juventus here at the Juve Arena. Mind you, they're not alone, are they? What a fortress this was for Juventus last term. 19 wins from 19 league games at home, as they became the first team to break the 100 points barrier securing a third successive Scudetto. Stefan Lichtsteiner played for Switzerland in their defeat at the hands of England earlier this week. Cáceres, the Uruguayan. Claudio Marchisio. It's going to be interesting to see how his role develops under Max Allegri this season. A lot of talk about him operating higher up the pitch. It's always been something of an all-rounder, Marchisio.
I think it's going to be interesting to see how Juve in general are going to play under Allegri, and clearly not too many changes, and why would you make them at this stage? Tried and tested 3-5-2, but it's not something that Allegri has done universally throughout his coaching career. So is he going to transform this into a 4-3-3 that many people were thinking would have made Juve into Champions League contenders? The signing of the likes of Evra would suggest that will be the case eventually.
Played back by Angelo Ogbonna to Gigi Buffon. Started the 2-0 victory for the Azzurri against Norway, European Championship qualifying. So still three at the back for Juventus. That, of course, was the system favoured by Antonio Conte. Expectation is at some stage Max Allegri will make it a 4. That's where Patrice Evra might come in handy, we shall see. Not probably tonight. Tevez laying it off towards Marchisio. Paul Pogba feeding it through to Llorente. That was the idea, at least. Let's see if Panagiotis Kone can lead the counter-attack for Udinese. They have been forced to sit very deep in the first 4 minutes of this contest.
And they almost got into Juve's half there, and when he did, Kone turned round and just wanted to keep possession. You can understand that. They've been chasing Juve for 4 minutes. Thomas Hurtaud, Frenchman at the back for Udinese. In many respects, they're mirroring the Juve system, have done for a while. It was generally always 3 at the back under Francesco Guidolin, now the sporting director. Talking of the connections between these two sides, Pereira getting himself involved. Roberto Pereira, who's on loan from Udinese here at Juventus, Argentinian. Had a pretty good view of that. Antonio Damato, the referee, was elected to give the free kick in favour of Llorente. Cáceres. Ogbonna and Pogba to his left. I want to talk about Paul Pogba formally extending his deal with Juventus. I'm sure his agent Mino Raiola is going to be kept busy on that front. Max Allegri, as we remember him, his time with Milan and Cagliari before that. Ended on a sour note at AC Milan. That guided them to the Scudetto in 2011. Tevez. Cáceres. And Marchisio letting fly. They bounce to the ball, favouring Udinese. They have a pair of fine counter-attacking forwards in Luis Muriel and Antonio Di Natale. Yeah, and there's the threat right there, Derek. If Juventus are going to commit bodies forward, which they are, but in the right-sided centre-half, Cáceres has got forward quite a few times already. And when he does, he leaves his other centre defenders 2 for 2. And they don't want to be doing that too often, especially with Muriel's pace and then, needless to say, Di Natale's finishing ability.
Igor Bubnic, Croatian defender for Udinese, a man from Split in his 2nd season with the club. Acrobatics from Evra. First start in Serie A, but not his first taste of Italian football. Early in his career, he played for both Marsala and Monza. And Juventus tried to win their battles. Pereira pokes it through. Lichtsteiner And Tevez! Just like that! The Juventus arena erupts. Tevez on target. First home game of the season. And all is well in the Juventus camp.
And this goal comes down to two things. One is Lichtsteiner down the right-hand side. Never stops running, always gets into attacking positions. And when he does, finds a pullback. And then Kone, who just switches off on the edge of the box. He's right side of Tevez there. He's just ball watching. Carlos Tevez is always on the move, just steals in front of him. And once he does a really good finish, keeps it low, beats Cornesis at his back post. Fantastic start from Juve.
Well, they were all celebrating. Carlos Tevez, who made such a big impact last season with Juventus. 19 goals in Serie A, 21 in all competitions. There's of course been talk of Tevez returning to the Argentinian national team fold. He's been on the outside looking in for 3 years now. He's very much the Juventus catalyst. And he's put his imprint on this game already. Udinese are chasing it.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they don't want to be doing. They're a counter-attacking side. You're forced to sit deep. Don't imagine things will change just because you've scored, but somehow it's a lot harder now when you've got something to hold on to and something to counter-attack from. You just want to make sure this game's not out of sight by half-time.
It's Pogba looking for a different angle of attack. Evra was high up the pitch, doing his best to get on the end of that Pogba pass. It is a perfect night for football here in Turin. Shirt sleeve weather. And Juventus luxuriating already. It's a particularly polished victory over Chievo in Verona last time out, just before the international break. And, trying to threaten again, Pereira. Alan trying to chase him down, the Brazilian against the Argentinian.
It's a really good run forward from Pereira and a fantastic touch when Paul Pogba picked him out. Good tracking that time from Udinese's midfield.
Well, you might think it's a test of Juve's overall squad depth. So many absentees. Bowled out by Orestes Cornesis. Great goalkeeper for Udinese. Pasquale unable to get there. Cáceres. He's made a motoring start to this game. Marquisio. Tevez dropping deep. This is his want. Pogba spraying those passes around. Evra took a deflection on its way through.
There's no change in how Juventus approach games. The reason they've managed to win Scudetti in a row is we see the replay of the goal. We won't quite see Kone switching off, allowing Tevez to steal in. But Juventus have been very fast starters the last couple of seasons. Put games to bed very often in the first half an hour of play. New management, same idea this time around.
Cáceres is up. Short corner here from Juventus. Lichtsteiner. Wasn't quite the original idea, and Marquisio had no way of getting to the ball.
It's clearly something gone wrong from the training ground. Try to work a clever corner.
What are your thoughts on Max Allegri, his strengths, what he did with Milan, his suitability for this gargantuan job?
Well, first and foremost, I was very surprised when he got given the job in the summer. Not least because of the Andrea Pirlo situation. Gabriele was telling us before the game that Pirlo has gone on record as saying no, there was no problem between the two, he just simply didn't want to play him. But if you read in between those lines, there seems to be a problem. If you don't want to play someone of the magnitude of Pirlo, who's gone on to prove Allegri wrong since that decision, no doubt about that. And that clearly is going to be something that's going to have to be addressed. The fact that Pirlo's injured means it can be delayed somewhat. But I think if you look at it from a positive perspective, he did do well at Milan. The last time Milan managed to win the Scudetto and challenge for it was under Allegri, and then things went wrong after that. Whether they went wrong because of the change of management or how things were getting run at the club is up for debate. But I was surprised, but it's been a good start.
Juventus off and running in this, their first home game of the Serie A season. Certainly can't afford to take their eyes off Di Natale. His goal-scoring ability, overall know-how. Llorente winning the free kick. It hasn't been the happiest of starts to this game for Kone.
No, and he'll be thankful that the aforementioned Andrea Pirlo is not in the starting lineup for Juve. Prime territory for Pirlo here. Could have added to his fantastic goal-scoring talent from free kicks.
That gives others the chance to take centre stage. Free kick situations. A mini conference there. Evra, Marchisio, Pogba. Still talking it over.
Just looking at where Pogba's positioned himself, you wouldn't be surprised if he shift this to Marchisio for a little back heel for Pogba. Wouldn't be surprised if it's him who has the eventual strike.
Bonucci was involved in the free kick chat as well. Oh, it's almost as though a hush descends upon the Juventus arena. Well, sometimes things just don't go to plan. Overly elaborate. Kone, meanwhile, does the protesting. He felt he had been fouled. Udinese have the ball again, and Kone has it again. Di Natale making the run, just off on the left, and Cáceres had to get there, succeeded. It all came from the botched free kick, Richard.
And I can't wait to see a replay, Derek, because what happened was Damato positioned himself exactly where Juventus wanted to play the ball. It's a ridiculous position for the referee to stand in. He's too busy spraying the white line, didn't realise that Juventus was trying to work a ball to Pogba. But you could have thought Juventus would have seen where the referee was and told him to move, because it cost them a counter-attack.
That was slapped short again by Udinese. Danilo, the Brazilian, in the middle of that three-man defence. Here's Carlos Tevez. Insufficient power. Lacked accuracy as well.
There's no other option. Quite right to take on the strike, but always leaning back. Here we see it. Marchisio did exactly what I told you he was going to do, Derek. Back heeling it into Pogba's path. Unfortunately, Damato wasn't on our wavelength.
Cáceres decided to let the ball bounce. He had Alan for company. Steiner optimistically taking that throw. It'll be an Udinese ball. Giovanni Pasquale, on loan at Torino last season. Torino, of course, the team favoured by many residents of this city. Juventus have always seen themselves as a club for all of Italy, indeed beyond Italy at times too, Richard.
Yeah, I've made the parallel with Manchester United, really. It's if I wanted to get myself in trouble with anyone in the red and blue side of Manchester, but it's one of those teams that doesn't matter where you're from, it's one of those teams that can be supported up and down the country. I'd like to say as well, if they're winning, you see an awful lot more of them coming out of the woodwork.
Andrea Stramaccioni, happy to be at the helm of Udinese. Calls it a talent factory. The youth policy has always been part of the story, much admired far and wide. Of course, they have the tie-up with Watford. So, owned by the Pozzo family. It's going to be a free kick to Udinese.
foul, first of all, from Kone on Pogba. The referee played advantage. Kone managed to get goal side, and I think it's gone against him. Was it for a tug or for a handball eventually when Pogba goes to ground? Either way, there were no complaints from the Frenchman.
It's tidily done by Alan. Here's Urto. Sylvain Widmer will be expected to go up and down the right flank for Udinese. Swiss player. Alan. Free kick to the visitors.
You mentioned Widmer there. Derek, I think it's going to be key that Udinese's two wing-backs don't get dictated to all evening, and so far it's been Lichtsteiner and Evra managing to roam freely into Udinese's half. It's got to be the other way as well, otherwise it's going to be a long night.
Danilo, in his fourth season with Udinese. Guilherme sitting in front of the back three. Now Widmer. The idea was to play it to Luis Muriel. Llorente. Glorious pass. Cáceres. Now Marquisio. Patrice Evra. Llorente was prepared to attack the ball. He went down. Wasn't the only one. Shrill whistle of referee Antonio Damato.
Simica coming together between Llorente and Danilo. Foul going Udinese's way. Not the official behind the goal or the referee that gave it.
I know, Richard, as a lad growing up here in the peninsula, you weren't necessarily a Juventus supporter, but I heard you singing along to the Juve anthem, the very catchy Juve anthem, before a ball was kicked in anger tonight.
That's very embarrassing now, Derek. I've got a few Milan fans at home watching this who will be none too happy, but it is catchy, you are right.
Well, I agree with you. It is easy to participate.
I did tell you they're an easier team to follow when they're winning as well, and that they are.
Because they don't know an awful lot about losing, Juventus. Certainly in the modern guise. Kone certainly wasn't giving up. Quiet word there from the referee. Panagiotis Kone. Was previously with Bologna, who got themselves relegated at the end of last season. He went to the World Cup with Greece. Scored for Greece in a match against Bolivia just before the tournament. Played in New Jersey in the USA. The referee was just a few yards away from that incident, so he's not having it. It's going to be an Udinese free kick. Pogba was in there trying to make something happen. Gestures galore from Kone in the first 21 minutes.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how it's a free kick from Pogba. Yeah, maybe he drags down Kone at the end. Lovely skill, took it down his chest and the nutmeg. I'm not so sure that's a foul either way. Kone is trying to get in the way of Pogba, trying to bring him down with him. The referee could have just played on there.
Stefan Lichtsteiner. Cáceres. Wasn't the ideal pass. Buknic back to Karnesis. Of course, the young goalkeeping prodigy, Simone Scuffet, is still out. He's been injured. Udinese desperately want to protect him. Of course, he received so many positive headlines for his work last season. If you watched Udinese last term, you'll know why. There's even a suggestion that he might go to the World Cup. Didn't work out that way. Pogba. Kone for company. Zips it through to Evra. Pereira was arriving on the scene. Plenty of blue shirts back there for Udinese. Caceres made the leap. Damato is trying to force a mistake from Bonucci.
Once again, it's Juventus' wing-backs doing the damage. Evra getting to the byline that time. Done really well at playing at wing-back. Curious to see how we get on. Spent most of his career playing as a full-back. Not similar, it's not exactly the same thing. Done well, good combination with Pogba, and the cutback was the right one. Udinese managed to get bodies behind the ball.
"19 home wins on the trot for Juventus in Serie A. Almost failed to win a home match in the top flight against Cagliari. It was back in May 2013. Massimiliano Allegri, his home debut, was sacked from his last 2 posts. Hullabaloo about all the injuries before the game, but he told the media the other day just to calm down. They have a big squad, chance for 1 or 2 others to impress, such as Pereira.
Sure how much intent there is, and then when he just loses his footing, but just catches him. It's a quiet word from referee Damato, no more of them.
Trying to work something here, Juventus. It's Llorente and Evra. It did take a deflection.
Brilliant play. Offside flag's gone up against Evra, I presume. This little flick from Llorente. Just, no more than that. Great play from Juve. Once again, the thing that Juve managed to do in the last couple of seasons. Get the ball into the striker's feet with such ease. Tevez and Llorente both very good at holding the ball up, getting the midfielders linked up, and that allows the wing-backs to then hit the byline. Very good football.
A couple of quick programming notes. The European Football Show is hosting live matches from both Germany and Italy tomorrow. First up, it's the Bundesliga and a battle of the North, Hanover against Hamburg. That's from 4:15, and then from 6:30, James Richardson and the team will be with you ahead of tomorrow's live Serie A game, which is Parma against AC Milan. And don't forget, this Thursday marks the return of the Europa League to BT Sport. We'll have 4 live matches across BT Sports 1 and 2, and once the full-time whistle is sounded, Des Kelly will be fronting a new show as Emil Heskey joins him in the studio for Follow the Football. That's from 10:15 on Thursday night, BT Sport 1. Marquisio. Bona had stepped forward. Called into the Italy squad after the injury sustained by Gabriel Paletta. There's Caceres. Fill a number of roles defensively, Martin Caceres. Enjoying so much possession here. It's a struggle for Udinese to get a look at Caceres. Tevez. His goal, the difference. Patrice Evra comes into the move. Pogba tried to steer it back to Evra. Guilherme was standing guard in front of the defence. Here's Di Natale. And all of a sudden, space opened up for Udinese. Vidmer into position to pull the trigger. Udinese know they cannot switch off. Not against a team of this calibre. Tevez just looking around him, wondering who he ought to pass it to. Decided upon Caceres. Lichtsteiner. And now it's Marquisio. Tempo slows right down again.
Udinese almost managed to get near in a counter-attack. Di Natale looking for Widmer. The thing is for Udinese, though, they're better without the ball. They're a counter-attacking team. That's where they're going to hurt Juve. Unfortunately, they're 1-0 down, so Juve are not going to put the ball at risk unduly.
So Bonner not closed down brilliantly. Tevez. Bonner just delayed. Bonner was about his business again. Sevra, and he whacks it against Widmer. Llorente and his back to goal. Oh, it's ballooned over the top by Pereira.
Once again, great hold-up play from a striker. Llorente this time, backing in, waiting for the right option. He finds it. It's Pereira. It's coming at him quickly. Just sits up as well. Doesn't allow for a side foot, just off the ankle, just leaning back a fraction.
Demanding coach Andrea Stramaccioni. But Pereira was with Udinese, now playing for Max Allegri, wearing the colours of Juventus. The old lady moving very freely. In the first 29 minutes tonight, their first home game of the season in Serie A. They're trying to make it 2 wins out of 2. Has managed to get rid of it. So swiftly Juventus have the ball again. Marchisio. Ogbonna. Ogbonna, the £10.5 million signing from Torino just over a year ago. Alan. It's Luis Muriel. Colombian, first emerged as a key player for Udinese a couple of seasons back, and that's a wonderful ball. And Di Natale inside the penalty area. That's more like it from the Udinese point of view.
Great play from Muriel, getting to the byline, and Di Natale, the reason he's clapping is that Ogbonna. He knows that this little touch that Ogbonna gets, and it deprives Di Natale the opportunity to have a free header. The first time we'd seen the Udinese front two almost linking.
They're going to have to work together. Luis Muriel and Toto Di Natale. Scored 195 goals in Serie A now. Di Natale, 7th on the all-time list. Wanted a brace in the 2-0 win against Empoli last time out. Empoli back in the top division after 6 years away. To Juventus. Early goal from Carlos Tevez. Really only very sporadic thrusts from Udinese. Cáceres. Marchisio. An ambitious ball. Pogba made himself a forward. Tevez. Evra coming into the move. Pogba, lovely stuff. Evra. And it's Alan. He was perfectly positioned, but Alan has given the ball away remarkably cheaply. Fended clear by Widmer.
Great football again from Evra and Pogba combining. Still can't quite find that telling assist, but Udinese in the end defended it well. There wasn't an obvious Juventus shot free in the middle of the box.
Llorente with Tevez! Well, you never quite know where he's going to pop up next.
No, and unfortunately for Udinese, neither did they. And they're going to have to do something about it because it's going to be 2-0 pretty quickly. Stop that ball getting into the striker's feet so easily. That's where the damage gets caused. When Llorente manages to turn, find the pass that he wants to, you get runners everywhere. This is the 1-2 between Evra and Pogba. least this time they managed to make sure that Tevez didn't have a free shot on goal. Allen it was, who came across well.
This is showing an excellent understanding, the French pair, Paul Pogba, Patrice Evra. His first Serie A start. Manchester United connection will have come into play as well. United fans still bemoaning the fact that they weren't able to keep hold of Pogba. Guilherme. It's very much a protective role in the Udinese set-up, just in front of Urto, Danilo and Bumjic.
And he's not doing it well enough, because that's the man that you want to stop those balls getting into the striker's feet. It is up to the holding midfielder to provide a front screen. You've got to read when the ball's going to come into them. Guilherme's not done that anywhere near well enough.
Muriel had drifted over to the right, beside Vidmer. Guilherme once more, former Corinthians player in Brazil, previously at Portuguesa. Van Vidmer. Moved all the way to the other side where Pasquale was waiting. Juventus looking for momentum. Steiner had smoothed in field. It's Carlos Tevez. Running at the Udinese players. Guilherme for the visitors. Pasquale. Martina Tane. It's not the tallest. Still likely to be favourite in an aerial joust.
I think he just wanted that ball to just sail in behind Evra for one of his trademark volleys we've seen him hit down the years. Just wants any service at all. Nearly got one earlier on when Muriel got to the byline. But Bonner prevented it. I'll give him half a chance, he will score.
They're not particularly good travellers, Udinese. I say that because they failed to win any of the last 7 away games. Going to go back to a 2-0 triumph against Bologna, the 1st of February. Pogba keeping his balance. Patrice Evra. Trying to put it right onto the head of Stefan Lichtsteiner. Juventus ball with just under 10 minutes remaining in the first half. The goal coming from Carlos Tevez. Llorente. Referee wasn't interested. Antonio Damato. Pogba gave it a fair old spank. Lichtsteiner. Now Tevez. Juve relentless. Lichtsteiner. Well, just wouldn't go in for the Swiss international.
Well, it's coming, isn't it? The second goal. And once again, Llorente's hold-up play. People running off him. Lichtsteiner's non-stop. He's not a finisher. He just shows it there. Juventus simply won't let Udinese out. They won't let them settle the ball. They're winning the ball high up the pitch, restarting attacks from there. Well, there's a handball there for Udinese defender lying on the ground. Juve didn't complain.
See all the attempts. The possession percentage will be extremely high. Juve with just the 1 goal to show for their considerable efforts. Evra certainly getting wired in. Back to Carnesis. Cáceres. Chase back here. Kone. Tane going all the way back, all the way inside his own half, and a bit to start something for Udinese. Floated pass by Guilherme. It's trapped by Pasquale. Guilherme comes into the move again. Alan. It's very nearly on for Juve and for Tevez. Steiner fancied his chances of splitting open the Udinese back three. Guilherme. His Serie debut last week in the victory over Empoli. We need to gauge Udinese on the basis of that performance. Empoli not fancied by too many to make a run at it. Lost earlier today as well. Down to Roma.
This is another tough gauge, of course, but it's been a poor opening from Udinese. Quite have wanted to sacrifice as much territory and possession to Juve, and even allowing for the fact that Juventus are going to have that at home. That's what Udinese have done with the ball when we've managed to find it. Haven't done anywhere near enough, something that Stramaccioni is going to have to address at half-time. Hope they're only 1-0 down.
Carlos Tevez. Space opening up for Pereira. As he scoops it in, and out it comes, Pogba! Well, the goalkeeper, Carneses, attempted to punch it out. He had work to do after that, as Pogba had a go.
And he's disappointed with himself because he knows he should probably find a better finish than this. A little bit too central, got the whole left-hand corner to aim at, choked the shot.
It's the only disappointing aspect of this first half, as far as Juve are concerned. The fact that it's just 1-0. Utterly dominant. And a yellow card here for Pasquale.
Damato seemed to take his time before working out that should be a booking. This little clip here on Lichtsteiner. There was intent, frustration as well. The yellow card is the correct decision. You're absolutely right. Allegri will want this to be 2 before half-time. Really a much easier second half if that's the case, but if the second half goes in the same trend as the first, you feel it won't be too long in the second 45 minutes before Juve add to their lead.
Stramaccioni, of course, as inter-coach. Ended Juve's 49-game unbeaten sequence. Put together this really quite amazing run of home wins in Serie A. Who's going to bring that to an end? Wouldn't put your money on Udinese based on what we've seen so far. Stranger things have happened. Murto is back there defending. Corner steps in again, gives it to Evra. And they go into the routine, the passing routine once more, Juve. Pereira. Was robbed of it by Guilherme. Di Natale. The players have shifted over to that side. Kone. The referee initially wanted to give the advantage to Udinese. Now blows his whistle. Leonardo Bonucci in the vicinity.
Sorry, Di Natale didn't want it. He didn't want the advantage. He knew that he had too many Juve players in front of him. It was very difficult for him to find a way to go from there. Using his experience, settling it down, trying to carve open an opportunity from a set piece.
Rather disgruntled Panagiotis Kone in this first half. Greek international, although Albanian born. Di Natale. Pasquale it was, feeding it back to Guilherme. Broken up immediately, and away go Juventus. Stefan Lichtsteiner. It's Pasquale who sweeps it away. Well, it looked dangerous, didn't it?
It did. It's a really poor play from Udinese because they got a free kick, 3 minutes, before half-time, a half where they've been chasing shadows, an opportunity to put the ball in the box, give Buffon something to do. They refused it, could have paid the price.
Ogbonna for La Vecchia Signora, the old lady of Italian football. Pereira. Tevez was trying to swoop. Scoop now for Di Natale to give it to Muriel. We've just seen them combine to good effect once when Muriel switched on the afterburners on the left, well aware that Di Natale was inside the box.
It's what's happening behind them that's the problem for Udinese, and this is why this man is so animated on the touchline, and he'll be using all 50 minutes available to him to readdress it.
Paul Pogba, manoeuvring his way into position, but it was straight at Karnezis.
Once again, you know he's going to shoot. We've seen him score spectacular goals from even further out than this. Can't quite find a shot that's going to trouble Karnezis.
Juventus very much on the front foot in this first half. A vibrant display. Tevez. Pereira. And Llorente. Well, he took the touch. The man who netted in both Juve wins against Udinese last season, including a stoppage time winner in the home match against Udinese.
I think he elects not to shoot first times. It just skips up an awkward height, just a little bit too far away from the stretching on his wrong foot. Lovely little idea, lovely little ball there through. He had it all over again. I think he's just swung a left foot at it, see where it ends up.
Bonucci went up for the header. Scored with a header for Italy against Norway at the Unival Stadium the other night. Zuri getting off to a flyer in European Championship qualifying. Berto. Steiner watching as it goes out of play. So far so good for Juventus in the first home match of the season, first home game under Massimiliano Allegri, and it was Carlos Tevez who finished deftly early on in this game. Tevez, who might well return to the national team fold with Argentina, but doing his bit for Juventus, and quite frankly Udinese struggling to get too many kicks on the ball. At the interval, it is Juventus 1, Udinese 0.
Sponsored by Bet365.
One Italian sports car door, £8,000. 5 doors and the rest of the car too, £7,290. The Dacia Sandero. What car 2014 best small car under £12,000? The Dacia range from 5,995. You do the maths.
On Blu-ray and DVD, witness the greatest disaster in history. Shields up! Pompeii. Buy it Monday.
What are your specials?
What are you after?
Oh.
We got burgers, cheeseburgers, pies, fries, and odds.
Odds?
Yeah, we got first to score, half-time score draw, 5-4, and a tasty offer to be sure.
What's the catch?
Haddock.
Download the Coral app and check out our in-play specials.
But please bet responsibly.
I'm late I'm late for a very important date. No time to say hello, goodbye. I'm late, I'm late, I'm late, I'm late. When I wave, I lose the time I save. My fuzzy ears and whiskers took me too much time to shave.
Why run around like all the others? Last year, on average, we were more punctual across Europe than British Airways. That's why it makes complete business sense to fly EasyJet.
At Machine Mart, you can buy power washers, generators, welders, air compressors, wood stoves, water pumps, space heaters, jump starters, engine cranes, trolley jacks, table saws, storage racks, workwear, power tools, tool chests, hand tools. Machine Mart have a huge range of tools and machinery on display in their 65 superstores nationwide. Or visit our website with thousands more specialist products in Machine Mart Extra. The new Machine Mart catalogue has hundreds of price cuts and new products. Get yours in store, online or call.
What a waste! I always get my 5 a day!
Pepperami. It's a bit of an animal.
I made you a Moonpig card because it was easy. Bit like you in Ibiza.
What makes a Moonpig card special is you.
Moonpig.com.
I joined the British Army in 2000. I've done 2 tours of Afghanistan. I've been ambushed. I've been shot at. I've been blown up. But never defeated. I am Invictus.
The Invictus Games, this September. Tickets available now.
Hey boys, so how can I help?
Well, I'm playing a new sport. It's called walking football. It's played by people 50 years plus. There's no running. What we'd like to do is raise the profile of the sport.
Well, I definitely think there's some digital skills will be able to help you and the guys out. We'll help you set up a Facebook page, post a video. You can even pay your subs online.
As people get older, they get...
Has changed the shape.
There's Butnic. Guilherme. Toe. Just a bit too strong for Kone. And it's on Bonar for Juve. No Arturo Vidal for Juventus. With a thigh problem, no Andrea Pirlo due to a hip injury. Giorgio Chiellini, another absentee. Andrea Barzagli on the bench. Now Vidmer. Bruno Fernandes it was with the shot.
Juventus players are not happy. They think the referee's fallen for that. Fernandes turns around straight away, and I think Damato's bought it. He's believed that Fernandes must have seen a touch.
Well, the outcome is a corner to Udinese. Vidmer, one of the targets. Likewise Danilo. It's easy meat for Gianluigi Buffon. And talks about a new deal. Buffon now 36 years of age. Pogba. Marquisio. Pereira. He had a spring in his step. Has been fouled by Alan, the combative Brazilian midfielder.
He's done well so far, Pereira. He's found some nice little pockets in behind Udinese's midfield. The midfield he knows very well, of course, rather than having to bring him down that time.
It's the two former teammates locking horns. Pereira, the Argentinian, Alan, the Brazilian. Pogba, Evra, Marquisio and Bonucci. Same quartet. It's Pogba! Carneses flinging himself at the ball. That's making it look a bit more spectacular than it needed to be.
Yeah, well, I think the goalkeeper's just got to move across the line and catch that. And prevent his team from having to defend this throw-in.
Now it's come to Tevez. Back with Ogbonna. Patrice Evra. Juventus keep it moving. Paul Pogba. Scored at the World Cup for France. A round of 16 win over Nigeria.
This is pressure that Udinese are under. They shouldn't be, because even though Carneses makes it look like a good save, it's a lot more comfortable than what the cameraman would imagine.
Carlos Tevez and Carneses, second time of asking for the Greek international goalkeeper. Turin, product of the Juventus youth scheme. Not really known for bringing their own players through. Now Tevez takes over. Marquisio. Got it back from Cáceres, Claudio Marquisio. The red is ever provided by Lichtsteiner and Pereira. Confronted by Bubnic, Llorente. Tevez trying to reposition his body. Alan is backtracking. Skews it away.
Once again, good play from Pereira. Managed to find a cross, and Tevez always alive at the back post. Unlucky for something not to fall his way.
Juventus doing just about all the attacking. Pogba. The referee decided to go back and award the free kick to Evra. Physical looks on Udinese faces.
And that is good refereeing, because Evra was a crucial part in that move when Juventus lost his attacking threat. They'd have rather had the free kick instead of the advantage.
Antonio Damato is the referee from Valletta. Tevez weighing up his options. Unless Tevez knew that Cáceres was arriving.
I'm not sure if Kone knows that he's arriving, but it's a good job he gets something on it. Not the cleanest of contacts, gives away a corner, maybe he hadn't have done. We've seen Cáceres score tap-ins like that in the back post before.
Tevez to deliver again. Wasn't one of his best. So looked for Bonucci. Alan went storming in. There's been an emphasis with Udinese on educating players, seeing them develop good habits. Now, those will say that they're just about the best run club in all of Italy. Regularly turn a tidy profit. Don't have a particularly large fan base.
And their recruitment policy is fantastic. Gabriele was telling us about it beforehand. They started a lot sooner than many other teams in Europe, and got some fantastic players down the years. Always managed to sell them on for good money when they've chosen to cash in. A very well run club.
Kone battling to keep possession of the ball. Guilherme, so he might have given it away. Right in front of Max Allegri. Bubnic. Bruno Fernandes. Trying to find a Fischer in the Juventus defence. Kone. Header away was by Ogbonna. Trying to get Paul Pogba running at Udinese. Panayotis Kone. Greek international now wearing the Udinese colours. A sad story. His former club Bologna last season. Got relegated. Steiner bustling. Alan has got the nick on the ball.
He's not happy, but I do think it came off Alan last. Juventus are just starting to get to the period where they're going to want that second goal. Never looked like they would need it, but at 1-0, Udinese starting to come back into the game a little bit, more so than in the first half. Udinese, Juventus themselves, less of a threat going forward. Allegri will definitely want that second goal now.
Pogba outfoxing Widmer. Oh, but credit to Sylvain Widmer. Went back in, put in the challenge, and now Udinese might be onto something. Kone and Widmer all of a sudden found himself inside the opposition penalty area. And he left the boot in, and it grinds to a halt for the team from Friuli.
Well, that's where you'd rather have Di Natale than Widmer, of course. Di Natale is having a go at Widmer, I'm not quite sure why. They managed to steal the ball high up the pitch, Udinese, something they never managed to do in the first half. Caught Juventus with fewer men back than they would have liked themselves, so...
Widmer thought he had got the ball, but then did catch Cáceres later. Trailing boot. Here's Kone. Well, they're trying to make a fist of it, Udinese. It was a remarkably passive showing from the visitors in the first half.
What they've managed to do is pin back Juventus' wing-backs a lot more. They've brought Bruno Fernandes on and Widmer's higher up the pitch. We haven't seen quite so much of Lichtsteiner and Ever as attacking force. They were practically running it in the first half, getting to the byline, cutting balls back. That's where the goal came from.
Andrea Stramaccioni, not all that long ago, was being labelled one of the brightest young coaching minds in the Serie A. Didn't work out for him at Inter, because he's inclined to blame Eric Tohina for that, the man who's in charge of the club now, all aspects of it. Patrice Evra to take this. After 9 seasons at Manchester United. Delighted to be a Juventus player. Cáceres. Lichtsteiner, the architect of the Tevez goal. Trying to place it on the head of Llorente. Never the marauder. Stefan Lichtsteiner. There's Kone. Now, Di Natale just looked over his shoulder to suss out who might be available. The answer was Bruno Fernandes.
It's the best they could have hoped for at the end. You did feel for 1 minute when Di Natale got released by Kone, they may have a few men over. It wasn't the case, and Bruno Fernandes was always going away from goal. Silly foul, really. Udinese will be grateful for it.
A host of substitutes going through the paces at this juncture of the game, inching towards the hour mark at the Juventus arena. And still there is hope for Udinese. Di Natale's had to do a lot of running without the ball.
Not quite sure, they have to change the angle there, Derek. It's a decent angle for Di Natale to whip it in first time. The moment he comes centrally, it's a tougher ball to hit. Definitely a tougher header for Erto, even if he did get a head onto it, directed towards goal. like in the first half, free kick in a dangerous position, wasted.
Llorente occupying the mind of Danilo. Widmer steers it back. So coaches looking on intently. Max Allegri and Andrea Stramaccioni. Cáceres. Here's Llorente. And the busy Marchisio. Pogba. Evra. Trying to find a pocket of space. Widmer was up to the task of reading the situation, and it's Widmer's free kick.
And it was good defending that time from Widmer. He's been more proactive going forwards in the second half than he was in the first, but sticking to his task defensively as well, not allowing Evra the freedom he had in the first 45 minutes of the game.
Juventus 1, Udinese 0. Juve have been very dominant in this fixture in recent times. 5 successive Serie A wins for Juventus over Udinese. The last 3 with clean sheets to boot. Kone. Widmer. Alan. Marchisio just backing off. Di Natale, and he left it, anticipating that a teammate might be able to run onto the ball. Tevez just losing out in his joust with Fernandes. It's a much more engaged and alert Udinese in the second half. Alan. Widmer. As Juventus drop back very much as a unit. Igor Bubnic. Guilherme. Kone. It's a series of Udinese passes. See if they can penetrate. Bubnic takes on Pereira. Steiner. No way through for Pasquale on that far side. And it's Marchisio. And now Carlos Tevez.
Easily the longest spell of possession that Udinese have had in this game. Couldn't quite materialise anything from it, but at least they're getting into Juventus' half. Territorially, it's an improvement. Carving a chance is the next step.
Tevez there just adjusting his footwear. Cáceres. Marchisio. Evra. Oh, it didn't quite fall for Llorente. Tevez was in there too. Oh, Bona right beside the touchline, right beside Massimiliano Allegri. This was Evra.
It's a good, hard, drilled low ball into the box. Very difficult to defend, and the fact that Erto misses it at the near post causes all sorts of confusion potentially behind him. Fortunately for Udinese, it doesn't drop to a black and white shirt.
There'll be a Juve free kick. Andrea Stramaccioni, whatever he said at half-time, has enabled Udinese to put up more of a fight. Marchisio. Was demanding the ball. Claudio Marchisio. Llorente back to Marchisio. Evra. Tevez. Marchisio. Lichtsteiner inside the penalty area, not for the first time.
And he's just indicating there to Marchisio that he wanted it a little bit more central, further away from the opponent. He had stolen the march from him on the blind side. See Pirlo pick up Lichtsteiner time after time for the last few years. Marchisio's good, but not quite Pirlo level.
Pogba received it from Tevez. Evra. Now it's Bruno Fernandes on the counter-attack. I wonder if Juve perhaps just overcommitted. They succeeded in getting bodies back now. Kone. Guilherme for Widmer. Bona had to react.
It was impressive the way that Juve managed to get bodies behind the ball so quickly there. And even though Bruno Fernandes has been good since he's come on at half-time, that's the one opportunity you definitely wanted Muriel on the end of it, a counter-attacking opportunity. Here is Vidal.
It's Arturo Vidal, a spectator. It's an interesting enough corner. Di Natale is trying to pick out an Udinese teammate, and they all had to think about that, the Juventus defenders.
It's head and hands for Danilo at the end of this. He just realises that was a really good opportunity. Surely he had to get something on it. Not enough conviction. But then he opposed any flick there, and Buffon is in massive trouble.
Bubnic trying to make the late run. Over it comes from Di Natale. It was Bubnic who jumped up. It's Danilo this time, and Bubnic from close range, but it's not going to count. Igor Bubnic adjudged to have been in an offside position.
There's a warning for Juventus that they're going to need another goal to put this game to bed. They'll need the replay to clear up whether Bubnic is offside as Danilo shoots. Oh, it's close, but he is off. Right shoulder. Patrice Evra there at the end. He knows he got away with it. If he was the last man for Juve, he shouldn't have been.
There has been a tightening factor here in the second half. Last shot from Kone there. Juventus know they cannot switch off. They have dropped down a gear in the second half.
No doubt, Derek, the intensity level is a lot lower than they were. Very hard to sustain it. The reason that Juve did so well in the last few years is because they were so intense for about an hour of a game. Sometimes they didn't even need to be an hour. Sometimes it was only 30 minutes. But by then they were 3-0 up. Just cakewalk the rest of the game. But for as long as it's 1-0, the other team's got a chance. And Udinese stayed in the game by hook or by crook in the first half. Very unlikely, it seemed back then, but still could get something out of it.
Here is Bubnic, the man who had the ball in the back of the Juve net. Down went Pasquale. Free kick to Udinese. It's been part of the pre-season, Udinese on English soil. Lost 2-0 to Sunderland, drew 2-2 with the satellite club Watford. Bruno Fernandes. Di Natale back now to Alan. Burrow his way through. Alan. Widmer trying to provide the wide threat. It was by Tevez. Has to go back the way. Carlos Tevez. Udinese hunting for the ball in packs. Pogba. Sprays it out to Cáceres. Angelo Ogbonna. Patrice Evra. Pogba letting it run through to Llorente. Misfires. Fernando Llorente. And still just the 1-goal lead.
Nice play from Juve again. That ball into the striker's feet. Too easy. Haven't seen quite as many times in the second half. Here he is, Bunjic on the move. Just a whisker. But offside for me. And Llorente and Evra, not quite sure they knew they were playing Bunjic offside. It's good officiating there from the assistant referee down the near side. Not easy to get right.
He allowed himself to celebrate. Bunjic. They saw that the flag had indeed been raised. Llorente, Tevez, playing just off him. Carlos Tevez! Carnesis reacting for Udinese.
And once again, Canezes, he won't be expected to lose a goal at the near post. Not once the angle went out of the move for Tevez. The first touch made him have to go a little bit wider than he would have liked. And by then he couldn't go across goal, which is ideally what he wants to do from that angle.
Marquisio making himself available for the short corner. Here it comes from Tevez. Ogbonna. Udinese have made it much harder for Juve since the interval. Getting in amongst them. Not standing off. Pinzi about to come on for the visitors. Pogba. Pogba getting it back from Angelo Ogbonna. Llorente. Lichtsteiner. Alan did well to get himself out. Towards Di Natale. Dwarfed, of course, by Bonucci. And Buffon attempting to get things started again. Ogbonna for Evra. Can't breathe easily just yet, the Juventus supporters. Udinese have made their significant push in the second half. Now it's Pereira. No difficulties encountered by Danilo at the back for Udinese. Alan. He's been much more active.
He has. I feel it's going to be either one of Guilherme or Koné that's going to come off and be replaced by Pinzi, what would be like for like.
So the change, we'll see Gianpiero Pinzi come on for Guilherme, as you suggested, Richard. Pinzi, the 33-year-old. Fixture for many years in Udine.
Midfielder for midfielder, but slightly more offensive-minded, clearly, Udinese in the last 20 minutes or so. Stramaccioni planning his last substitution as well. Finding himself in that position that he can steal a point here from Juventus.
Forward by Marquisio. Tevez. Are going to come thick and fast for Juventus. Malmö, of course, next in the Champions League. Don't forget the European Football Show tomorrow, 4:15. Hannover against Hamburg in the Bundesliga. BT Sport 1. BT Sport 2 will have Primera Liga action. Vitória Guimarães against Porto. It's coming up tomorrow. Also fancied by many to reclaim the crowd. We should also tell you about the big Serie A game on BT Sport 1 tomorrow evening. Parma against AC Milan, the build-up, James Richardson and the pundits. And then every kick of the ball, AC Milan under Pippo Inzaghi. Evra. Tevez. Trying to manufacture something. Marchisio! 2-0. Superbly dispatched by Claudio Marchisio. The old lady on a victory course yet again.
Really well crafted from Tevez and Evra down the left-hand side. When he rolled it square, Tevez it was, he rolls it square to Marchisio. I thought the chance had gone when he didn't take it first time. Thought he was going to get closed down. But he managed to beat Carneses to his left-hand side. Not sure if the Udinese goalkeeper will feel he maybe should have done better. It's a good strike for Marchisio. We've seen him do it in the World Cup, of course. And once he doesn't get closed down, I suppose it makes life difficult for Carneses in goal. And now with 15 minutes to go, what we always thought from about 10 minutes into this game, Derek, now looks secure.
They called him the Little Prince, the Juventus supporters, and he is treated rather like royalty. Wonderful finish. And it might end the spirited Udinese challenge in the second half. Difficult to see a route back into the game for the Friuli side now, Richard.
Absolutely. For as long as it was one, if a chance had fallen to Di Natale, which it hasn't done so far, I just had the feeling that Udinese, the way they'd grown into the game, grown in confidence, and the fact that he weren't out of it when they felt they should have been, they could have stolen something from it, but not now. Not now. They're going to have to score 2 goals against Juventus. 15 minutes to play. If anything, I think the counter-attacking opportunities for Juve will increase. A little bit more freedom and a little bit more relaxed now. They feel the 3 points are very much secured. They could even add to it themselves.
Gubnic. Udinese, by the way, have got Napoli coming up next. Sunday game next weekend. Of course, there will be a midweek round. Udinese travel to the capital to take on Lazio. Vidmer against Ogbonna. Stretching was Bonucci.
Buffon just appreciating the defensive duties performed by Bonucci. In truth, Di Natale wasn't behind him. There's no Udinese player that ball was going to fall to. He managed to get a corner.
Fernandes was at the ready, so to Vidmer. As he went up for the head challenge. Juventus set exacting standards for themselves, and that's the way it should be. And they were making hard work of the second half by those high standards, Richard.
Yeah, and because they didn't get the second and the third in the first half, that's why. There's a few times last season that they did concede the odd goal, particularly at the beginning of the season, but they have looked a lot more solid at the early part of this season than they did at the early part of last, and that is something that Allegri will be very pleased with. Some good defensive performances. They haven't had to be at their best against Udinese, who in truth haven't had a fantastic prowess up front tonight themselves, but the likes of Ogbonna, he's been good. A bit shaky at times last season, but he's been good tonight. Bonucci's looked secure. Cáceres always does a good job whenever he's called upon.
So they've got Bartagli to come back, of course, on the bench this evening after Achilles tendon surgery. Giorgio Chiellini not part of the equation either. Udinese looking to threaten. Scone who played it back.
I praise that defending too soon. Not good defending at all between Ogbonna and Bonucci. Almost let Udinese in.
Pogba's pass for Tevez. Pogba, Tevez. It's away by Thomas Urto. Remember Kingsley Coman, the star of the show for Juve in their first game against Chievo. 1-0 win over the Flying Donkeys. Consider himself a bit unlucky to have been left out of the Starting 11 tonight, the Wonder Boy, signed from Paris Saint-Germain. Who goes down, play continues, Tevez, Llorente, and now Evra. Coman is going to make his entrance in front of the home crowd here at the Juventus Arena. It's all about keeping the ball, making sure nothing untoward happens. Tevez. Marquisio. The Champions League is also going to be very important to Juventus this season. They'll begin the group stage on Tuesday against the Swedish champions Malmö. Now the change. And it will be Kingsley Coman time. The 18-year-old, the young Parisian. There's another substitution that might be made. Unless, of course, they've got something completely wrong on the electronic board. No, it will be 33, Kone. So the Juventus change will see Carlos Tevez go off in order that the young prodigy Coman can make his way on. Tevez got things started. That early goal for Juventus this evening.
And here it is, in typical Tevez all night. Never stopped running, good quality as well. Held the ball up, linked well with Llorente. Very good evening's work from him.
Goodbye, number 10. Hello, number 11. Kingsley Coman. Slipped by Evra. Haven't really seen too many missteps from the former Manchester United player.
Well, Max Allegri was absolutely furious there with Pogba. Could hear him and can see him just not happy at all that Pogba taking liberties on the ball, putting his foot on it. And the manager not shy to let his feelings known.
Tevez has played his part. As for the replacement, Coman trying to make things happen in the few minutes that he'll see in terms of action on the pitch. Ufto. In truth, the second goal, the Marquisio goal, finished this as a contest.
Yes, it has, and Damato hasn't quite given up on getting something from it, bringing on an attacking player in Tiro for Kone. But realistically, he knows as well that with 8 minutes for stoppage time, very unlikely he's going to get 2 goals against this Juventus team.
Vidmer, scraped away by Bonucci. 27-year-old in his 5th season with Juventus. Well, it's going to be 2 wins out of 2 for Massimiliano Allegri as coach of Juventus. Pogba just looking around him. Cáceres. Gets it back from Lichtsteiner. In goes Alan. He wasn't going to be denied. It's quite an inventive ball too. Di Natale. It comes off Ogbonna.
Di Natale was desperate to have a strike, even though he knew the chances of beating Buffon from there were slim at best. He hasn't had anything to go on tonight. First sight that he's had 83 minutes into the game. I thought, why not?
Di Natale, latest Udinese corner. It was always angled that little bit wide. Plenty of tall targets inside the penalty area for Udinese, including Ufto.
And this second half, that's looked the most likely avenue for them. That's where they got the disallowed goal, the offside goal, correctly given against Bubnic. Second phase of a corner. Danilo had a free header if he had connected at the near post when it was still 1-0, so that'd be a little bit of a concern for Allegri. The fact that Juventus have given away some cheap free headers from set pieces. You are missing Barzagli and Chiellini, of course, are very dominant in the air.
Well, the substitutions have certainly been occurring regularly in the last few minutes, and here's another one. Simone Padoin to replace Roberto Pereira, and he's entitled to feel pretty happy with his first Serie A match at the Juventus arena as a Juve player. Pereira, of course, on loan from Udinese.
Yeah, most definitely happy with his first game here as a Juve player. Been impressed with him. I think it's important that Juve got someone in the summer who could fill the boots of Vidal and Pogba if needed. We're not quite there yet, but it's a solid start from him.
Evra. Pogba. Free kick decision goes the way of Alan. Ogbonna. The challenge from Pinzi this time. Gianpiero Pinzi. Coman was on the receiving end. Llorente just losing out. Toro trying to make a difference off the bench. Fernandes, another of the substitutes, and Cáceres succeeds in getting it back to Buffon. It's just 4 minutes plus stoppage time away from another clean sheet. Another clean sheet against Udinese. Looks like it's going to be 4 in a row for Juve against the Friuli side. 6 wins on the trot against Udinese in Serie A. Padoin. Llorente and Coman available inside the box. Widmer's header, here's Coman. Pogba. No luck for Padoin. How would you quantify what you've seen overall from Juventus tonight, Richard?
Overall, I think it's much the same what we've seen last year, and it's hard to give too much praise to the change in management because it's been pretty much the same Juve performance that we've been accustomed to under Antonio Conte. He's not had to change anything really, has Allegri. The players know the movements, the same things that we saw last year, wing backs attacking, getting to the byline, getting crosses into the box, players linking and running off strikers. You know, it's the same old Juventus, and I think as far as Juve fans will be concerned, they'll be delighted with that because there is the risk of losing everything they've worked so hard for. Very early days, of course, but the signs are good that things are going to progress rather than regress from last year.
Sent by Pinzi. Evra put to work. And we'll get the final verdict from Gamma Cotti, watching in the studio alongside Paul Dempsey here on BT Sport. Alan. And Evra getting it towards the technical area. And one more change to be made by Max Allegri. Alvaro Morata will make an appearance. Spaniard who has joined from Real Madrid. 5-year deal. Worth around 20 million euro. And it's Llorente who departs. Spanish player for another. Morata, who has recovered from the pre-season knee ligament injury. Everyone thanking Llorente for his contribution. I think it's fair to say, Richard, that it's a deeper Juventus squad than it was, say, 2 years ago.
Yeah, no question. Even from last season, I think what Juve had to have the ability to do is change formation. And what players like Morata and Evra allowed them to do is to go to a 4-3-3 perhaps in some of the trickier games in Europe, where their system has proved a little bit of a hindrance for them at times. That very unique 3-5-2 shape that Juventus play as well as, or better than anyone I've seen in Europe. But just at times, just to make a little switch, keep opponents guessing, you need versatility. And Allegri has what Conte didn't. Conte didn't have that ability last year to go to the bench, to go to the squad and necessarily change the system.
Andrea Stramaccioni tried to change things at half-time for Udinese. Tighter unit, more effective side. The concession of another goal to go with the one that was shipped early on. So 2-0 victory at the first time of asking for Udinese. 2-0 against Empoli. 2-0 to Juventus this evening. Juve who are about to embark upon Champions League group stage. Meeting with Malmö, and then of course a crunch Serie A fixture next weekend, Saturday to be exact, against AC Milan. Mouth-watering. We shall see that with us on BT Sport. Cáceres. Can Juventus put a final exclamation mark on the proceedings? Morata keen to make an impact. Pogba. Marchisio. And Pogba again. Evra. Coman. Lichtsteiner. It was an untidy challenge. Will be a free kick to Juventus. Halloween, one of the substitutes there. Pogba. Well, Udinese kept the flame of hope burning. Much improved second half effort. The second goal from Marchisio proving to be the death knell. Here's Lichtsteiner now, and Pogba to set it up for Stefan Lichtsteiner. Marchisio. Few obvious weaknesses in his game.
You mentioned the Udinese players. Sometimes, as negative as it sounds, and I've been there, Derek, you're on the receiving end of playing against a team that's a lot better than you. They look as if they could run riot. But sometimes during it, you think, well, I'll take two and I'll get out of here. I'm not going to get anything from this game, and that's been pretty much Udinese players' attitude. They don't want to concede a third or fourth. Looks a lot worse.
Padoin disguising it, Morata! Oh, it's an outstanding save by Carneses, and it needed to be. Well, the substitutes for Juventus are motivated.
And Carneses is ensuring that he didn't lose that third. Does really well. Not easy to get down to that one. Morata hit it across him. It's a stop that makes the scoreline look a little bit better. No points, but no shame in losing to this Juventus team. And it could have been a lot more in the first half. Looked as if it would be.
Juventus managed to win every single home game they took part in last season. The first home match of this campaign, another victory. Andrea Stramaccioni makes his way to the dressing room, disappointed overall from the Udinese point of view, but Juventus over the piece were too strong. Claudio Marchisio getting in on the scoring action, responsible for the second strike after Carlitos Tevez, as it says on the flag there, put the old lady in front. Richard, your final assessment?
Well, I think normal service resumed for Juventus. They're going to be a very, very difficult team to stop. I did have high hopes for the rest of Serie A when Antonio Conte, the leader of this Juventus renaissance in the last few years, did come to the fore, and he went. I did think that it was going to be tough for them to retain the Scudetto, but from what I've seen today, it's going to take a very good team to beat them.
We'll send it back to Paul Dempsey and Gab Marcotti in the studio as we, one more time, listen to the very tuneful Juventus anthem. Final score here in Turin, Juventus 2, Udinese 0.
Derek and Richard, thank you both very much indeed. They are certainly hitting all the right notes early season again and echoing that record theme. In all, 35 wins for Juventus in their last 40 in Serie A. Along that way, they've lost just twice. And not one to miss in this slot next Saturday night, it will be Milan against Juventus. Do they remain, Gabriele, in your opinion, the team that the others have got to clamber above if they are to wrest the Scudetto away?
No question about it, Paul. I mean, again, in a match like today's, like we saw today, you know, they're out there without 2/3 of their starting defense, without their best player in Arturo Vidal, without Andrea Pirlo, and